Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 50 Shades of Tay. I'm Taylor Gonzalez, and my guest today is Sanae Loutsis, who plays Snow White in the upcoming dark fantasy, The Death of Snow White. Sanae, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. It's so good to be reunited, even though it's virtually this time. We were just talking about this before we started filming. It's been over a week since the premiere. That's nuts.
It really is. Like that time goes by so fast. It's crazy.
Yeah, how was the premiere for you? It was such a fun night, but for you, as the star of the film, how was the whole evening for you?
I mean, it was like mildly stressful, but like in the best way. Like the adrenaline rush was really there, so that was keeping me going. But it was so good to see everyone again and meet a bunch of new people. And it turned out really good.
Yeah.
So that made it even better.
It was really fun for me because it was my first time seeing the film. I got to look around and see people's reactions and, hear people cheer and hear people get grossed out at some of the blood and gore. But it was
Mhm.
just fun because everyone there was just having such a good time and it had such positive feedback. So you and everyone who worked on this film should be so proud.
Oh, thank you. I know we're all very excited to see what's next when it comes out and stuff. So,
No, we're getting there, just a few weeks away at this point, April 18th.
yeah,
Are you nervous? Are you excited? Like, how do you feel right now going into the upcoming release?
it's kind of just like surreal. Like, I don't even know how to feel about it. I'm like, it doesn't really feel like it's actually happening. And I feel like, especially with like, my just like close friends and stuff, they're like, oh, so like I can go and see it. And I'm like, wait, you can go and see it.
Oh,
That's crazy. I'm like, usually we have to wait a long time for that. So.
that'll be so fun. Do you have plans yet? Like, do you know what theater you're going to go to and who you're going to take with you opening night and stuff like that?
I honestly have no idea. I don't even know what theaters it's going to,
Mhm.
honestly. So I don't even know like where it is, but I'm sure I'll do something. Or
Yeah,
something.
you have to. You should take a big group of friends and just, how are you when it comes to seeing yourself on screen? Like, are you okay watching your own work? Do you have to look away? Like, do you do
I'm
okay with
someone
that?
who like hates it. I hate watching myself. But I will say it's been a lot more enjoyable with this movie just because like it's just better than a lot of the other ones and the turnaround time was so fast that, sometimes I watch myself and I'm like 12 when I did it and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's tough. That was a while ago. That's a different person right there.
Mhm.
But now, because it was like not even a year ago, it's definitely easier because I'm like, okay, those are like choices I would make now. So,
That makes a lot of sense. I interview a lot of people who tell me that they filmed the movie that we're talking about like 3 years ago. And I'm like, dang, I mean, when you're older, 3 years is 3 years. But when you're younger, it's like, oh my God, you could have been like a teenager. You could have been like a little kid. And then by the time it comes out, you're an adult. So it's just like, I can't even imagine waiting
oh
3 years. And the
my
other thing that drives me nuts is like, we were just talking about how I like putting my interviews out as soon as they're done. Could
uh-huh.
you imagine if we filmed this interview and then I had to wait 3 years to put it out? It's like, what the hell do you do for 3 years?
No, literally. And like for me, like because I started when I was like 4. So some of the stuff I did, I was so little and it would take a while to come out. And there's definitely different like eras when you grow up. And so like there was like a few year span where like, we had a real like I can't even say glow up because I was just growing up. So I really just grew up and I was like, oh, that's what I looked like. Okay. That's okay. It happens, but
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
glad I'm where I'm at now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's funny. Speaking of, how did you get your start in acting?
It's kind of a silly little start, honestly, because like those little like ads that they have, they're like, your child will be the next Disney star if you come to these classes and enroll in these weird things that are really kind of scams. And I'm not gonna say they weren't scams, but I did go to those and I did end up here. I'm not gonna say that it's because I went to those, but it definitely got me like into the acting world and it got me to be like, oh, I actually kind of like this acting thing. So I just kind of kept with it and I met different people through it, and then yeah,
What
now
was
we're
your
here.
very first paid role?
I think it was either like some kind of commercially thing because I have very like little like recollection of those things, but my first like feature film type of role was this documentary that I did called Next. It was about like little girls like they come to LA and get their big start in Hollywood. And so it is a bit like weird to look back on that and be like, "Oh, so I'm kind of doing that." now. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I love when people's first roles like reemerge when they start doing bigger movies and bigger projects.
Mhm.
And then you see, like, for example, Selena Gomez, I think of this all the time. I think her first or one of her very first roles was on Barney. So I just think
Oh
it's
my
like,
God.
it's so interesting, especially I think it's the SAG Awards where they do it. They show the person who's being presented an award and then they show their first time on camera. And normally it's a
So
commercial or it's something
cute.
like you would never have thought so and so got their start. Like Selena Gomez and Barney. It's just such a crazy thing to
Right.
see how you can go from one project to the next. I love it.
No, totally. I love like the little side quests that we as like actors and just people in film in general like do
Hmm.
like before we get like bigger things. It's so funny.
Oh my gosh. Well, you were perfect as Snow White, the perfect casting. You really embodied her like so wonderfully. And I was wondering what kind of preparation you did to get ready to play this character.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot like more prep work into this role than really any other role I've done because most of the time it's like more similar to like me as a person. So it's like, okay, like we just take some things from the life. But with Snow White, there was first like I think I talked about it a little bit in the Q&A we did, but I was involved a little bit when Jason and Naomi were like writing it. And so when they were doing all their research on like the story as a whole, I kind of got to do a little bit of my own research and hear from them as well, like about some of the more historical depictions of Snow White. So a little bit of that. And then also, I like music and like pop culture and stuff. So I'm always like listening to music, like to get in the moods, like of the scenes. Or my favorite is I am a very big like Myers-Briggs person. I'm like some people are like those are dumb and fake and they're like astrology and I'm like I don't care. I like them. So I
Mhm.
did mine for like Snow White and what she would be and I think she was like a consul or something, I want to say. Yeah.
Mhm. Oh
So
wow.
yeah, I just like to get in the vibe of the
Mhm.
character, because she's very like kind and always like putting others before her, like there's not really much of a selfish bone in that girl's body. So
What kind of music are you listening to?
they're like more scene dependent, honestly. So
Mhm.
like my go-tos, because there's a lot of like very emotional moments for Snow in the film. And so I listen to a lot of like soundtracks. So my like go-to was I think it's from Minari and it's like Jacob and the Stone. And it's like so devastating and
Mhm.
heart-wrenching. It like really gets me in that vibe of like, yes, I just like lost so much and I'm having to reel with all of these things. So
Ah, that's cool. Yeah, I talked to a lot of people who say they make playlists for their characters, and I think that is such a cool way to get into character and to put yourself in that mindset of like, what would my character listen to? Or it helps, music really helps bring out emotion. So I love that idea.
totally, totally. And then it also just helps because, like, we did like Ren Fair type stuff. And so then, even then, I feel like I don't even know if there was music, but in my head, I was like creating my own like Ren Fair music because it's very like specific. So it's just like getting in that little jolly vibe.
Okay. Well, by the way, I got to show you what I'm drinking out of in honor of Snow White.
Oh my
It's my own
gosh,
poison apple.
iconic, iconic.
I'm like so scared of breaking this thing, but I love it so much. I got it at Disneyland. It's like one of my favorite mugs.
Yes, I peeped the little like pass holder that
Oh
came.
yeah, I know all of the collection growing back there.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. You filmed some of this in your backyard, right?
Yeah, I filmed like most of it in my backyard, I want to say. Like it was just stuff at the Seven Dwarfs house that wasn't there. And then there was another castle location that I never really went to, but there was also there.
Oh
But
wow.
yeah, majority of the stuff in the castle was a castle that we built in my backyard. And then all of the fair stuff was a whole fair thing that we built in my backyard, and then
Wow.
all the forest stuff, besides like maybe 5 minutes of like one battle scene, I think they did somewhere else, but
That is crazy. You would never know. Watching the film, you would never know that this
it's
is filmed in the
crazy.
backyard.
No, yeah, it was like really wild because I hadn't even been like because I was in Washington and then I'm in California for school. So I hadn't even been back to Washington for like a hot minute because of school. And so then like I come back and I'm just like there is like a whole nother world in the
Okay.
backyard. What? And
Uh,
then it was just really cute because I have little nephews and they
mhm.
also live on that property. And so they would like go to school or like go to the doctor and they'd be like, there's a castle in our backyard. And my like sister-in-law would have to explain the whole thing. She'd be like, well, they're not wrong. There's a castle, but the movie says and like a real castle, so they're not making stuff up,
Mm.
but
Oh my God, that is great. I can't even imagine that. Sounds like so much fun though to just have it and then you're home. When you're done with your day of filming, you're home.
totally. Yeah, it's definitely like nice. I don't have to like make the trek back. I can just like plop in a bed. The only thing that I will say is a little tough is that like I never leave set then.
Oh yeah,
So like
that's true.
there'd be a few instances where like I'm chilling and then they would just like barge in and be like, "We need you." And I'm like, "Whoa, you could have just texted me that."
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Very true.
Not gonna be a text message, but okay.
Oh my gosh. Well, for people who are curious about how your version of Snow White differs from the one that they maybe grew up with watching, on Disney, how would you compare the two characters?
I mean, like the biggest difference is like there's a lot of blood and guts in this movie, and that's, part of the appeal of it, honestly. Like it's really fun. And Jis and Naomi, like they're just like the most talented, like practical effects company like ever. It's actually insane. Especially like just some of the stuff they do is like crazy. They bring it and I'd be like, that's not real. Like that's wild. So that's one of the biggest things. And also just, I mean, we take from a lot of different like Snow White tales. So like a lot more of the grim versions, I would say, compared to Disney, if you were to compare the two. But
Yeah, no, I completely agree. What would you say are some of your favorite characteristics of Snow White?
I mean, I just love how she's a character that always puts like kindness first because I just think that's really like, very admirable. Like I want to do that. Do I always do that? I don't know. I want to, but no, she's just like always thinking of other people before hers. I mean, nothing is more really obvious than like her, well, not her final scene, but there's like a final battle and just the emotions and the thought process is that she has then really encapsulate her character as a whole. Like she's not someone who holds grudges. She's someone who's always looking towards the future and specifically the future of like everyone in mind. Yeah, she's just like a really sweet person.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with you. I love the bloopers that are in the end credits of the film. Number one, they don't do that anymore. That used to be like a thing. Like I would
I
say maybe
know.
like 10, 15 years ago, every movie would have their bloopers in the credits, and it was fun because it would make people stay through the credits and see, the names of all the people who worked so hard on the film. But then it got to show, I don't know, like the bonding experiences of the people on set, and it makes it, I don't know, more relatable and funny. So when you saw that blooper reel during the credits, did you have like a bunch of memories flash back to you of all the fun you had in between takes and on set?
Totally. I mean, I had like seen a couple cuts of the film prior to seeing it in the theater, so I like knew what to expect. So nothing really got me in the film, but I did not know about anything to do with the credits or the bloopers. So that actually got me like emotional and like I kind of teared up quite a bit just because I was like, "Oh my God, like I forgot about some of these things and I didn't know they were going to be there." And I mean, there's just always on any set, there's such a bond, between like the cast and the crew and just like everyone there. And, especially in indie films, and just I would say especially on this film, like because so many people were just so excited about it. And it was, when we brought together everyone, it was really like an amalgamation of all our favorite people, or at least that could be there, obviously. Like there's some people like we love them too, and they would be included, but they just couldn't be there. But yeah, so that was so, so special.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I hope that's a trend that starts to make a comeback because Deadpool and Wolverine did it last year. They put
Mhm.
bloopers and like behind the scenes stuff in their end credits. I was like, let's keep that trend going because it's very fun and I love it.
Seriously, I mean, I don't know, like because they used to even do it in animated movies where they
Yeah.
like animated specifically to be a blooper reel, and I was like, why can't we have like this kind of effort in here anymore,
Yeah.
guys? Because that's funny.
Yeah,
Like
you're
that's
totally
awesome.
right. The Toy Story films used to do that.
Yes,
Oh my gosh,
yes,
that's crazy. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. That's awesome.
yeah. And I also live for the Barbie movies that they did. They would do them for those, and those have spawned some iconic memes. Actually, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Like
no,
they're
I know
so
exactly which
funny.
ones you're talking about. That's hilarious. So there are a lot of very intricate scenes in this film with special effects, and there's a lot of really cool fight choreography throughout the film. What would you say was the trickiest scene to pull off?
I honestly was saved from doing a lot of like the hard stuff or like being there for a lot of the hard stuff just because, Snow White's she's a bit passive. She doesn't like battle. So I didn't really have that many stunty things. There's
Mhm.
definitely some effect things. But there is one scene at the end where I am like being a badass or whatever and walking through like a battle
Oh,
scene. So like I'm not doing any fighting, but it was so like specific. Like we were counting as we were going, and I had to like plan my steps, and I'm just walking and I was getting stressed out, and they're like having to friggin' like battle each other. That was stressful to me, even though I wasn't even doing anything.
mhm.
And it was crazy. Um, and other than that, I mean, so many like affecty things. I don't even know. Like anything where blood was being shot,
Yeah.
because you can't really like go back and do it again.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, probably that battle scene was
Yeah,
kind
that
of
battle scene is badass, by the way. I can't wait for people to see it. And it's so
yeah.
cool what you're talking about, the way you walk through it. Yeah, love that scene. I can't wait to see that scene again.
Yes.
So crossovers are really popular right now. So if one day a sequel came from the death of Snow White, and they brought in another Disney princess for you to team up with, is there one that you would love to share the screen with?
Oh, that's such a fun question. Oh, oh, that's so de difficult. I mean, I don't know. Maybe like just like the other classic girls, like a Cinderella moment or like a Sleeping Beauty moment. Actually, maybe Sleeping Beauty because we're both like sleepy girls who like are just asleep for half the movie,
Yeah.
and everyone like they come to save us, and we're both like, "Oh my God, love you. Thanks for that."
Oh, that'd be
Actually, that
hilarious.
would be kind of silly. I kind of love that.
Yeah, it could be like a sleepover movie.
Yes. Wait, that would be actually really funny.
Oh my gosh. Well, I really think that this film is going to open a lot of opportunities for you. So I was wondering if after this film comes out, you had your pick of a dream role, whether it's working with a specific director or it's, sharing a scene with a certain actor. What is a dream role for you?
I mean, I don't know. It's like a weird thing for me. Like, I don't really have dream roles. I'm just kind of always really excited for like the next new thing. So,
Mhm.
like, the most different thing that I can do, that's what I'm going to be really excited about. Like, if it's similar, I'm like, I'll be excited too. But, like, I don't know, what's super different from like a horror Snow White, I guess, like, I like a comedy or something. Like,
Yeah.
or anything that's like new and different. Like I like getting out of my comfort zone in acting, so yeah, really
Mm.
anything.
All right. No, I love that idea. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what a complete like 180 from this would be. Maybe
Right.
like a musical, like a full-on musical or
Yeah.
a
I mean, I
romantic
can't
comedy.
sing, but like I would do it.
Okay,
Like
but
I'd
that
figure it
there's no problem with that because they just put out the
out.
Disney remake and
Oh.
there's Gal Gadot cannot sing and she's in it, so I'll just say that right now. But
Yeah.
anyways, if someone was watching this interview right now and they're also interested in becoming an actor, what advice would you give to them if they're just starting out their career?
I mean, it's just like the little things. Like, there's so many like things going on everywhere. Like, even in your own community, like I'm sure there's something. Like, I mean, even if it's just like advertising, like they're always making like stuff. So just like try to get your foot in the door. Doesn't have to be in acting, it can be in anything. And then, I mean, really, especially in like smaller industries, it's very easy to move around. Like, they always need people doing things because there's not enough. So just like ta seize the day, carpe diem.
Yeah. Well, Sanae, I cannot thank you enough for taking time out of your day to join me. Where would be a good place for people to come and follow you and keep up with all your other upcoming projects?
I'm like most active on Instagram. I think I have a Facebook too, and like TikTok. Literally anywhere. It's really just my name, which is hard to spell. But if you can figure out how to spell it, you'll probably find me.
I'll put it up on the screen and then I'll also put a link in the description of this video so people can come and
Perfect.
find you. But thank you so much again for being here. And everybody be sure to check out The Death of Snow White when it releases in theaters on April 18th. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks again. Bye.
Bye.